Start.
Okay.
Okay. It's my pleasure today to talk to Erik Lemcke, who's giving this weekend's seminar. And we have some questions for you, Erik, that you can address and tell us a bit about yourself and the school.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd like to start with, what is your relationship with Jolanta? And what do you like about this school that she's begun?
Mm-hmm. Well, my relationship with Jolanta is rather long, because I think we have known each other 10, maybe even 15 years, and I have had the pleasure for giving seminars for that many years, even more years here in Lithuania, some years in Kaunas. Earlier I did a lot of things in Vilnius, and I would nearly say maybe all of those seminars I have given here in Kaunas, Jolanta has participated. And I have been very happy for that, because it's always good to have people who have a wide interest in developing other people in your seminars. And I really feel that Jolanta have this attitude to inner development and to helping others in their development. So therefore, it's a great pleasure for me today to be here in this school. This is the first time I have a chance to see it, because it's quite new built. I heard about it last year. I talked with Jolanta about it last year, and I'm very impressed. There's a wonderful light in here. You're nearly sitting in a tipi, and the warm atmosphere is here already, even if it's a new school. That's not natural for any school to be so well functioning from the very beginning. So I like the room, and I am looking very much forward to give this seminar today. I can say a little bit more about Jolanta and the school, because Jolanta is the main organizer, the director for this school, and without her I'm pretty sure that it would never have come alive. She's a person with a great integrity and a great interest in developing of people and helping people out from the heart, but not only out from the heart, also out from the mind. And that is really what I liked when I have had a chance to go through the papers for this school. So it is helping, or should we say, the focus in this school is how can we develop kids, young persons, in a way so they take responsibility for themselves, but not only for their own development, but also what is happening in the society, and in very close connection with nature. Nature is one of the key elements in what is happening in the principles of this school. So I really think that this is a school for the future they have built. And maybe some of the seminars which I have given have been part of giving her inspiration to some of the things which are going on in this school.
So you've assisted with the school from the very beginning in maybe a consultancy.
I would say we have talked about it, and some of the principles which I feel is behind it. The school is not unfolded yet. I'm still to see what is coming. We have talked about those things.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned that you've worked here in Lithuania with many groups for, you say many years, but how many years is that, and how did this happen?
What had happened is a long story. We are still back in the Soviet time, when Lithuania was a part of the communism regime, you could say. And at this day I was in contact with a group of organization development management consulting. I was one of those already in those days. I've been working with these things since 86, 87 as an organization development consultant. And I thought that based on the principles I have in my mind, that when the Soviet system was going to be changed, there could be a need for persons who really wanted to not only grow business, but also grow people and people development. And I came in contact with a group of that, and I managed to get a seminar first in Moscow about how to develop people, and then I had close contact with a translator who was acquainted with Litauen. And the first school, that was Waldorf schools, who was starting that. I was giving some seminars. I have helped them to just take the first steps, and I have after that, and now we are back in 92, so that's some years ago, And since then I have every year, first 10 years, given 2 seminars every year, and after that given 1 seminar in a row of different seminars, all about how can you develop yourself to becoming better, to working together in society, and how to develop people.
So you call that human development?
I call it human development, but the background for this human development, that is also what many people would call spirituality. That is based on the Austrian philosophy and philosopher Rudolf Steiner, who is working and has developed spiritual science. I will not go deep into that because then it's a very, very long way we go, but if you have specific questions, we can take it. But based on his way of the image of man behind those things, that's a man who is having a heart, who have abilities to think, and also have the will to do things. So how can we develop moralities in people, and how can we help people to grow?
So when you say image of man, you mean image of the human being?
Image of the human being, that's what I mean. You're right.
Okay. Well,
and these seminars around those topics I have given sometimes only for making visions in different schools and kindergartens, other times for giving general principles of how about to develop. And I have done that. And are you also interested in the different themes which I have been working with, or is that?
well, that's probably related to my next question,
Okay, then we can take it there.
which is tell us a bit more about your professional background in relation to this weekend's seminar topic.
Yeah. I go a little bit further back, if that's okay with you. I have in fact been working as a consultant since '68. At that days, I became employed in IBM as a system engineer, and I have worked with computing, with IT, 20 years after that, from '68 to '87, and I was a system engineer, but I was also the last 10 years I was in IBM. I was a manager, both for system engineers and later responsible for quite a big part of IBM strategical development.
Okay. Are there other themes that you would like to touch on that relate to what we've been talking about?
Yeah, I think so. Because what happened in my life, for personal reasons, I came in a situation which I feel many people are doing. At a certain time in their life, they start to get deeper questions about what is life. Up until then, I just thought it was a question about being very professional, earning good money, and supporting a family. But then I found out that sometimes you come to the question, what is the meaning of life? What is my mission in life? How can I develop further? How can I help other people to develop? And then I was searching for, you can say, some person would say I'm searching for spirituality. Other would say you're searching for a platform for develop the rest of your life. And after some searching, I found this Austrian philosopher, Rudolf Steiner. And I started to get a deeper understanding of that. I worked very intensively with that for about 7 years, until the question arose in me, was it possible for me to, could we say, combine my picture of man, what is important in a human being, with my profession? And I found that there were people in Holland who has started to work in organizations about how is grown-up people developing themselves, and how are they helping organizations to develop. There was a professor called Bernard Lievergoed in Holland who has founded a small group of 6-8 people and formed an institute called Netherlands Pedagogical Institute. And in fact, from the beginning, he wanted to call it social ecology, because how can we ecology from farming and things like that, but ecology in social relations, where things are in harmony, which are they supporting each other so they can grow. But that name was too early out, so therefore it was not called that in those days. But in Denmark, where I have been working with it, the name for this method has been social ecology all the years where I have been working with it. And that is from '87, where I founded one consultant company together with 3 other persons, and in '90 I started another consultant company where I have been in periods up to 4-person, periods alone. And was through that I started to say, taking the thread back to what I talked about the first time I came to Kaunas, I said, I would like to give something to development of attitudes and way of being in Eastern Europe. And I got fine contracts here in Lithuania, and that I have been following up on.
Okay, but you worked also in Vilnius in a
Yes,
period as
yes,
well.
yes.
So
10
Vilnius
10
and
years
Kaunas.
I have been working in Vilnius, and I can't remember exactly when, but I think the last at least about 10-15 years I have been working primarily in Kaunas.
Okay, you touched on something that a lot of people probably will recognize when you mentioned Netherlands pedagogical education, because many people have heard of NPE.
Yes.
So they will recognize what that is, and that is also connected to Bernard Liebergood.
In fact, it's the same.
Okay.
What he founded, he wasn't allowed to call the institute an Institute for Social Ecology. Instead, he has to call it something else because it was a part of Rotterdam University from the very beginning. And they said, ecology, that has to grow corpses. So therefore, they formed an institute saying, well, it is in pedagogical institutes working with social pedagogy. And that is why it in many areas has been called Netherlands Pedagogical Institute.
Okay. You mentioned a bit about your life as a young man, and
Have I really?
well, you touched on it briefly, and things that influenced your development. Is there anything else you want to say about that?
It's so many years ago. So, well,
but it's still fresh in your mind, right?
Okay, it's fresh in my mind. I'm in a generation where you did not enter university when you finished, and even in those days you even didn't get a student examination. So I went out sailing for being a seaman and a Navy officer.
So a sailor.
Sailor, yes. And but I found out that did a sailing on far Asia, being a mate there and there was a captain, that couldn't be good together with a family. So so I managed to come into to the military, but there you should have a student examination. But the first, no, I would rather mention another thing. When I was a sailor, I was on a seaman school called Lauritsen Søfart School, and that was a school with hard discipline and hard work, and also something for the mind, because we should be officer in that, and that has been a very important part of me. I think that was one of those periods where I really was founding myself. The next time was probably when I entered this student examination, and I lived in Copenhagen, had a good life, and after that I found out, no, working in the military, that really wasn't me. I am not so good in obeying commands. I wouldn't say I like to give commands. My wife could think of saying that, but I wouldn't say that. So therefore I said I must find another career, and I was also married. And then I found this back in 65, when I was 66, when I founded first computing. That was rather new, there was not very many knew anything about it. So I had a very satisfying life in that profession for many years, until I decided that I wanted to work with personal development, organization development, and inner development.
Okay, so if I were to translate this important academy, you said Lauritsen's Søfart School, but if I were to translate that to English, you might say Lauritsen's Maritime Academy.
Yes, you
and
could
it
say
was
that. Yes,
at that period it was the competitor to Maersk.
Yeah.
Whom everybody knows.
Yes.
That's still the.
And they have a longer training there. That was a year's training on a seaman school. So we should really be officers. And we were learning to serve wine. We were learning to give lectures. We were learning to fight. We were learning to have all those things.
And waltz too.
Waltz too. Yes, that was. Oh yes, that's right.
Treat the ladies nicely.
Yes, there was every week there was coming young girls in our age from a dancing school in the local town, coming there and dancing with you. So we should learn to dance too. And
the niceties, the graces.
Yes, that's
okay.
right.
Well, time went on. What is your family like today?
I am very happily married with a woman which are interviewing me, by the way, and I have been done that for the last 16 years. And well, I was so lucky in that there was a period I have been involved in very many different things during my lifetime, and I was working with climate issues, because I really think the climate issues, the care for the nature, is one of the most important things can we treat the nature in the way that we
Okay,
are
but I was
treating it
asking you
today?
about your family
Ah,
before you
did.
talk about nature.
Yes, but that has to do with this thing, Theo.
Okay, sorry.
Because I attended a conference. No, I didn't. I had a meeting about these topics in the United Nations with a person there. And before that, I have learned to dance tango, Argentinian tango. By the way, I have also introduced Argentinian tango here in Lithuania many years ago. And then I was to an evening called the Milonga, where you're dancing tango. And there I met a beautiful Afro-American woman, and we found out that we could dance well together, and we become married. And that is 16 years ago. And besides that, I have a daughter who is a doctor, and we have a very close relation. And I have been married one time before, and unfortunately my wife, she died of cancer, but that was back in 90, so that's very many years ago. So I have been married since I was 22.
Okay, and you have your daughter, is she married? What about grandchildren?
Oh yes, we take that part too. My daughter is married. She has been married longer than the two of us has been married, and I have 2 grandchildren, which I see a lot. And if you want more about my private life, is that what you are?
Well, yeah. What are their ages? Are they boys or girls or?
One girl of close to 10, and another one of 13. And I have had
Another girl?
No, another boy of 13.
Okay,
yes.
so a girl and a boy.
A girl and a boy.
All right.
And which I should say more about me, then.
Well, yes. What do you do to relax? Do you have any hobbies? What else are you involved in?
What I'm involved in, I wouldn't say this is a hobby, but since I started with anthroposophy, I have been reading that, and I've been working out from that and try to live out from that, and I still do that, and I'm still striving after my inner development. And this is the good thing about life. If you start to take your own life seriously, you can develop as long as you live. So that's a good thing about this. Yeah. So that's one thing. The other thing is tango. That's also I'm doing when I'm relaxing. And then I wouldn't call it a hobby. I would call it a deep interest. Then for the last nearly 25 years, I have been making sculpture. So I'm a professional sculptor also. I make organic form sculptures.
And you also belong to professional sculpture organizations,
yes,
correct?
I am a member of the Danish Sculpture Association, where I'm participating in a number of sculpture exhibitions every year.
And your sculptures travel around in Europe, or
I would say primarily travel around in Denmark.
Okay, but it is possible that...
yeah, we will see.
Yes. All right, well...
But would you like to hear about the materials I'm working with in sculpture?
Certainly, whatever you'd like to tell us.
Yes, I started to work in wood, then I worked in clay, then I'm working in granite, then I'm working in marble, and then I'm working in fiber concrete. And I'm making sculptures from small up to about 2 meters or something like that.
Okay. All right, well, I think you've brought us full circle. You mentioned something about how adults can develop their whole life long.
Yes.
And that's also part of what you're going to be talking about in this weekend.
Yes.
About the development of adults.
Yes, the development of adults. But it's also very important that they get the right impulses from the very beginning. And my feeling is that children who are attending this school will have these possibilities. So they really will come in close contact with nature. At the same time, they will be stimulated in the way of thinking and feeling, and also in the way they are interacting with other persons. So I think this school could be a very good base. That's also why I am still supporting and working together with Lemcke.
Okay, thank you, Erik.